United we're as strong as a mountain. United we...
I want to thank all of you for coming today. My name is Steve Zeltzer, and I'm with Workweek Radio, Labor Video Project, and Pacifica. I do a labor show in Pacifica. I'm also a member of the Newspaper Guild in San Francisco, and a member of the United Front Committee for a Labor Party. And this meeting is very important tonight, not only for the people here, but the people in this country who are facing a very dangerous situation, facing an attack on democratic rights, worker rights, and human rights. And one of the things about New Orleans has a tremendous history. It has a working class history. And in fact, in 1872, there was a general strike here in New Orleans of all the workers against the conditions here in New Orleans for the workers. So one of the things that is a problem in this country is the media. Working people are not finding out about the situation of labor and human rights. And we felt that it was important, since the TNBC, Teamsters National Black Caucus, is holding a convention, to have some people from New Orleans talk about what was happening in this region, in New Orleans, Louisiana, and the attack on black representation and redistricting. The attempt to exclude particularly black people from having representation. And people have died in this country for civil rights, the right to have representation. So our first speaker tonight to greet us is Valerie Jefferson, and Valerie is was a president of the ATU local here in New Orleans. And one of the ways I found out about her is during the COVID pandemic, they were able to get an increase for the workers who were working in the COVID crisis, getting sick, dying, and they got an additional coverage for them, financial coverage, and they refused to pay it. They refused to pay it to these workers. And these workers are putting their lives on the line to keep moving during the COVID pandemic. And Valerie, as president of the local here, fought for them, and as a result of that, she was targeted by the management, and she's terminated, and she's still fighting for her job back. So welcome, Valerie Jefferson.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see everyone here. And thank everyone for joining us online, my live Facebook page. So everyone, make sure y'all smile when you get the mic. I became the ATU Local 1560 first lady president in New Orleans, Louisiana. And that's the title I'm glad to hold, because I love my labor union ATU. During 2019, of course, during 2019 and 20, we had COVID hit, and at the same time, we were transferring over to from Transdet, which private, to public under our TA under New Orleans. And we was doing all that at the same time, and at the same time, we was getting sick. We are the transportation of New Orleans. New Orleans depend on transportation on our TA. So we was compelled to come and do our job, come and pick up our family, our friends, and our community. We was compelled to do that. And we had a push for our TA to take care of us. With the PPE care, we went to the city council, Cindy Wynn, she helped us out a lot. We had different city councilmen helped us out, a lot. But we were still looking for our TA to help us out. And we had to push him. We had to call the international office. We had to call the AFL-CIO. We had to campaign ourselves. End up doing a call to action. We had to do a caravan. We was in the rain to show them and tell them we want to drive these buses. We want to do our job, but we want y'all to take care of us. We want y'all to take care of us so we can take care of this city and our family. In the results, we had an instructor died. We had a supervisor died. We had, over 100 drivers literally got sick. I caught COVID 3 times. 3 times. But nevertheless, we still pushed. We pushed. We won our call to action. We won that. We got a PPE, but we had to do all of that for the company to take care of us. Then we immediately went into contract negotiation. We went into contract negotiation with ATU Local 1560 and RTA. The storm Ida came. So, and RTA still was emergency mode because we didn't have no lights, no electronic, right? They used the RTA buses for cooling system. So we had to go to every part of the city, park the bus, have the bus on, and have the AC running. And we had cold water in there for people could get on the bus and cool off and drink cold water. Especially at the at the elderly centers and at the nursing homes, we was there. At the same time, guess what? We were asking for RTA to take care of us. The same thing happened again, my brother. We had to go in negotiation. We had to go in negotiation and push them, hold them accountable to take care of us. It was sad. It making me go back now. That was very sad to me. We had to make a company take care of you, for you could take care of the city, your community. When you see them hurting, who gonna take care of you when you hurt? That's how I look at it. Then in the meantime, we signed an agreement, but RTA did not honor that full agreement. And that's when I got terminated. First, they terminated the COO, and we was in the middle of the negotiation contract. They terminated the COO, then within less than an hour, I got terminated. The CEO said that I was a workplace violence, right? And it took them like 3 hours to discipline me. They didn't call no police. They didn't call no security. They even looked at my record. I didn't even have a complaint in my record. They want to know what was in my record. Say, your record don't have nothing in it. I said, I ain't doing nothing. What you talking about? So I had to call the International on the phone. They represent me and all that good stuff. In the meantime, that was in September the 8th, 2021. What is this? August 2026. I'm still fighting for my job because God justice gonna live. I believe that. Yeah. I believe that when we do what we supposed to do, doing all things in decent and in order according to God's word, not our word, to God's word. Because we are living in a time right now, man, justice is no good. You see that? Man, we get in our feelings, we get in our pride, our egos, and we do things that's unjust. We do things for ourselves, and this is the total opposite of what God wants. So when we are laboring in the vineyard for God, He gonna take care of His soldiers. Longer we do things right and honest, and we have to learn how to, in the union, we have to learn how to do outreach and promote ourselves. The community, I'm found out within these 5 years, it'd be 5 years, September the 8th. Thank God that those CEOs was terminated. The last one just was terminated. We got a new mayor. We got the city councilman that stand up, speak up for the community. Thank God for them. And we have a new RTA commissioner board. And they very active. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that. They are looking out for the workers. That's what we need for people to look out for the workers, because in order, I know I just said, I'm gonna go right back to it now. That when management and the union work together for the betterment of the community, that's when the wheel will turn correctly. The wheel will turn in communication with everybody. Everybody is important. Everybody is valuable. When we realize that it's not about us, it's not about you, it's not about you, it's about all of us together. When we get that mindset that we are servants, right. We're not leaders, we are servants. God allowed us to have a title for, it's just a tool for us to go to the next door, for us to knock on that door and get in there. That's it. That's all. That's it. So right now that we are working, the union is working to get my job back. We have a Mayor Helena Moreno. She's a worker. In fact, when the NAACP went before the Transportation Committee, was speaking up for labor, she was a city councilman then. And she spoke up for us. She was the president of the city council, and she spoke up for the labor. She literally spoke up for us. And she's doing the same thing now, just like the city councilman and the commissioners, that they're holding the executive accountable and you're holding union accountable. I don't blame everything on the company, because the union's supposed to take care of the members. Right. The union is a business. We have to realize it's a business, and we're supposed to act accordingly. The money's not your money. The money's not your money. You know, it's all our money. The money is there for the benefit and the growth of the business of the union. It's for us to be trained. It's for us to promote ourselves internally and externally. It's for us to be promoted in outreach in the community, for we can tell the community about the union. You think the company gonna tell the community about the union? No, the company not. It's for us to do that. And I am executive of the ATU International Black Caucus, executive over 7 states, right? So with that said, that right now we had 2 of my locals in my region, Austin, Texas, was in their negotiation for over a year. They got a tentative agreement now. Whew, that was a long battle, but right now Jackson, Mississippi is still in the fight. Still in the fight. I was there this week, and they went before the city councilman. This is why I'm so glad that we had city councilman right now in New Orleans that fight for labor. That there has all those city councilmen sitting in their seat. They had the laborers who was in the audience. The mayor was sitting on the left-hand side. And the company, MV, went and spoke up for how they are negotiating with the union, how they are trying to come up with agreement, what they paying the union members. But nobody not saying, yeah, that they asking for $24, but you bringing in workers from out of the state, paying them $36 and up. Paying them room and board, their hotel fee, paying them their plane tickets, giving them food vouchers. But you refuse to pay the citizen of Jackson, Mississippi, who taking care of the people in transportation, who paying taxes and voted. And I'm looking at the city councilman, ain't nobody asked them questions. Ain't nobody asked them questions. Should have asked them, well, why are you bringing in other drivers from out of state? Do they have Mississippi driver license CDLs? How much you paying them? You see what I'm saying? How much the benefits are? Well, if you're doing it for them, why you not doing it for the workers right here? These my constituents. Why you not taking care of them? Then turn around, what their contract look like with Jackson, Mississippi. So Jackson should be fining them. If Jackson waived their fees and they fine, well, who getting that money? Who's saving money? Why the citizen, the hard-working people that work for Jackson, Mississippi, is being left out, being mistreated. So if the companies, the private companies who make it over $1 million profit after the overhead, they make it over $1 million profit. If they not taking care of the workers, who will? The union have to step up, hold the company accountable. We can't fight against one another. We can't do that. We got to join together and hold the company accountable. Then the company, I like it. I like it when the company hold me accountable, because you making me a better person. But when I use that same book on you, don't get mad with me, brother. Don't get mad with me, sister, because I'm reading the same book you read. If I'm supposed to wear a red jacket, and right here and I see that you supposed to wear a white one, well, you wear your white jacket, because I got my red on. That means you get mad with me because I'm questioning you, I'm holding you accountable. What you just did to me. That's how I feel right now. That when we hold each other accountable and we hold up to it, It could be the union side or the company side. It doesn't matter with me. Right is right, wrong is wrong. When we work together like that, we ain't got to worry about number 47. I ain't gonna say his name because I ain't give him no power. We ain't got to worry about 47 because we gonna come together. We gonna promote each other. We're gonna do outreach out there with our family, our friends, our church. The church got to step up. The church is the light of the community. I'm getting excited now. I'm getting excited. The church will be the light of the community. You're in the church, of course you're supposed to praise God. Of course you're supposed to lift him up. Of course you're supposed to learn about him. At the same time, you're supposed to learn about how to live daily. You got to do that. Then you can get that information. You go to your job, you go to your home, you go to your neighborhood. That's what it's all about, being a laborer in God's vineyard. Come on, brother, get this mic, because you know I'm getting carried away. Come on, see who names.
We're all in this struggle together. We all need to be unified in the struggle. We have to educate each other, and that's really critical. People have to know what's happening. Working people have to know what's happening. We have to build solidarity. And one of the things that everyone knows about is what happened with Katrina in New Orleans. The disaster that man-made created, you know, when they did not properly maintain the levees, and they flooded the mainly black community here in New Orleans. And as a result of that flood, many of the people here had to leave temporarily. And C.C. Cambell-Rock, an independent journalist and a fighter for human rights, worker rights, was a journalist who came to San Francisco in the Bay Area, and that's how I met her. She was working with the San Francisco Bayview, which is a black community newspaper, which gets information out and breaks the information blockade about what's happening to black people in San Francisco and around the country. We need more black media. We need to get the stories out and worker stories, otherwise you don't find out about what's really going on. In fact, one of the things that I found out in that newspaper was that there was a hanging noose incident. I was a stationary engineer at the Southeast Sewage Plant, and a hanging noose was put up, and a sister there, Carmi Johnson, a stationary engineer, went to the police, and the police said it's not illegal to have a hanging noose in a public facility. And I said, what's going on? And I went to the union meeting, and when they saw me and Carmi walk into that union meeting, they canceled the meeting. They adjourned the meeting because they knew we were going to bring up what was going on. But this is what we have to bring up because we have to stop the racism, the attack on black workers, all workers. So welcome, C.C. Cambell-Rock.
Me to talk about the redistricting problem we have, what's happening with our labor unions here, and resegregation. But let me correct you on that. We're not resegregated. We've been segregated, okay? So, and when Katrina hit and 100,000 of us left, I think 75,000 may have come back, and we came back to gentrification. And it's still gentrifying. People are buying our land. The property taxes are off the hook. And so we're fighting with that. So I'll just say a few things. And let me say this. This Louisiana has been pivotal for civil rights movement. How many of you guys know that Martin Luther King Jr. came to Baton Rouge and talked to T.J. Jemison, who had the first bus boycott, 1951. Martin Luther King came here, and the ILA, International Longshoremen's Association, Chink Henry, had a big check for him so he could continue. The SCLC was incorporated here. So Louisiana has been a focal point for civil rights. But I want to share with you what happened. I'm going to take it way back to the Louisiana Constitutional Convention of 1898. We met here to establish the supremacy of the white race, and the white race constitutes the Democratic Party of the state. Well, back then, you guys know the Democrats were the racists and vice versa. There is, therefore, in my judgment, no separation whatever between the interests of the state and those of the Democratic Party. Furthermore, in his address, this was a judge, this is a Supreme Court Louisiana Supreme Court Justice Sims. Furthermore, in his address on the convention's accomplishments, Sims noted, our mission was, in the first place, to establish the supremacy of the white race in this state to the extent to which it could be legally and constitutionally done. So we are in 2026, and our legislature is upholding this standard. They just got rid of the second majority-minority seat that we had. That was only put together, last year or 2 years ago, because we only had one congressional seat. White people comprise 57% of our population. Black people comprise 33%. So tell me why the congressional delegation is like 95% white, and our legislature, I think it's the Senate, is 83% white, and our State House is 68% white. So the math is not mathing, but this thing that happened in 1898 has carried forth. We never really were integrated, but one of the good things I can say about Step Up and other organizations now, today, are working across the divide. We had a big battle over voting rights here. We still are battling over voting rights. And courageous biracial group of lawyers and a community activist. Long story short, we've had our first person to sit on the Louisiana Supreme Court in 170 years. Okay, so now we have two, thank goodness, but that was a big battle that went on for 6 years, and then our Chief Justice, Bernadette Johnson, she was able to ascend, and she had to fight her colleagues to take her place as a Chief Justice. So she had to go back to court. They won there. If I name some of the people that were on her team, you would know them. Mark Morial was one. So what happened is they're very clever, even though we were outnumbered in the legislature. We had legislators back then that got together, and what they did is they put it in a law what the consent decree was, so that if the judges decided, oh, we're going to get rid of that, they couldn't get rid of it. So as far as our labor situation is, I'm so glad you guys are here because, and Valerie can attest to this, our state is still hanging on to $7.25 an hour. Nobody can live off of that, nobody. And so that's an affront to us. Our workers who work in the French Quarter that we like to go and party, $2 an hour plus tips. Now, even if you're single, you can't live off of that. So they busted our nursing union as we knew it. So we had strong unions. We had musicians unions. We had the riverfront, the waterfront unions. We had all of that. And now we are going backwards. And so Louisiana's labor landscape today reflects another truth. Black workers have anchored the state's most active labor movements in generations, from waterfront unions to hospitality workers to musicians unions. While the state does not publish a formal count of unions led by black leaders, New Orleans has one of the strongest traditions of black labor leaderships in the South. They fought for fair wages, safe workplace, and dignity on the job. There was just a big battle for Charity Hospital, which was the place where I was born and a whole lot of other black people were born. And now the nurses came out and they said, no, we need you not to turn this into condos. We need you not to let the people who don't pay taxes, like Tulane University and LSU, run their medical schools out of this building. We need this building for the people who are ill. But we've been sold out again. So here we are. We got problems in our labor sector. We've got problems with gentrification, representation. As I was saying, Troy Carter is our only majority-minority person. We had Cleo Fields until Louisiana versus Calais went to the Supreme Court. It was brought by 11 non-white people, that's how they call themselves, and went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, well, Cleo Fields' district is racially gerrymandered. We can't have that. But you did it because you had been cheating black people out of their representation for decades. That was the second go-around for Cleo Fields. He was in Congress in 1993, and they did the same thing. Okay, so tell me how it is that partisan gerrymandering is not racial gerrymandering, because it's the same thing. And so hopefully the labor leaders, everybody we can come together and make the Supreme Court understand that the math is not math. And we have a trifecta. The Republicans have a trifecta. They own the governor's mansion, they own the state house, they own the state senate, and the congressional delegation. All of that is lily white, if you will. But I'm encouraged because we have some young people who are coming up. State Senator Royce Duplessis is one. I think State Senator Edmund Jordan is another. And they're not playing with them. They are speaking truth to power. Mark Morial came down. We had a bunch of people to come down and sit before the legislature and say, we only had 2 representatives. Now you're taking 1, and they're trying to take Troy Carter's spot too, as well. So we call on labor unions and everyone else to come and help us, because we can't live like this. We cannot. And as I said, our state is 57% white, 33% black, and if you put in the other minorities combined with the black people, then we're 48% of the population. So those are some of the challenges we have. Gentrification is eating us up. We would like people to come here that look like us and buy the property, if you will. No offense, Steve. But you can come too, Steve, because you're honorary, okay? So, so those are the things that we're facing. We do have a predominantly African-American city council. They're doing good. Our mayor is a Latina, and so they understand what's at stake. So we have to fight in the courts for every little thing, so here we are. And we're in bad shape. I say that everybody who's behind the cotton curtain, we're back to where we were probably in 1930. Okay, so we don't want to be there. And so we have to join together, as Steve said, across all industries and elements and biracial, everybody, and we need to fight the powers that be, because the Supreme Court is a rogue, it's gone rogue. They're not even, the Supreme Court is not even following the rule of law. You just got, and tell me why that Cassidy, who was one of our senators, tell me why he voted to put that Attorney General Blanche in place. He had already lost the race. Why are you gonna do that? And why, see, everybody was telling me, oh, he's not that bad. Well, guess what? When he voted to confirm Robert Kennedy, I was through with him. Because this man is a doctor. And you're going to put Robert Kennedy in there? And I don't know if y'all heard the news, but now they've come up with a different slate of the way our children are going to be immunized. They don't want to combine, measles, mumps, and rubella together now. They want three different vaccines, plus all the rest of them. There were 18 protective vaccines that our kids had to have. Some of them were combined. Now we're down to 11, thanks to the person that's not a doctor.
Right.
So, y'all, we got lots of work to do, is all I'm saying. And I don't mind speaking truth to power. And Daphne B., who's my work partner here in communications, we want to do everything we can to own the narrative, because that's what we're going to have to do. Yeah. As y'all know, how many different right-wing networks do you know about? What is it, 4 or 5? Okay. Where's ours?
That's right.
Now, we have MS Now, which is very nice, but we need much more than MS Now. Now, Steve has his radio station, that's great, but we need more. We need to own the narrative consistently, and be out there at every turn when, like, just immunizations came up, we need to have our own doctor say that this is not working. So, having said that, I'm going to say that we're fighting for fair representation, we're fighting to have decent wages, we're fighting to have equality, and even though Donald Trump has gotten rid of what is diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's what we should still have. And it boggles my mind that people would rather vote for a felon and a criminal and a thief rather than put that black woman in office. And if you go back and look at the executive orders that she convinced Biden to put in place, it's everything we needed. So, I mean, but now I'm very encouraged by some of the primaries that we've seen, and it appears that the people some people have awakened. They said, you don't want you to be woke, but you better be woke. Right. Because this ain't nothing nice that's going on right here. Am I lying? No. So, we need to reclaim our, land and our country. We need to take our country back. And the reason why Donald Trump has been elected twice is on the back of racism. Mm-hmm. It's about whiteness. And I'm like, well, you can't eat that, though. Okay? Okay. Right. They asked a little lady at the filling station, well, what do you think? Well, the price of gas is too high, and the groceries are high. And she said, well, did you vote for Trump? And she said, yeah, both times. She said, so I guess I'm the idiot. And I'm like, we got problems. Do you know recently, what it was on the 11th, they found a young lady hanging in Mississippi? Mm-hmm. And December 2025, it was a young man hung in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. So I guess, like Billie Holiday say, southern trees bear strange fruit still. Mm-hmm. So we have to begin, y'all. I don't have a problem with it. We need you guys' help. Let me end it right there. We need your help.
The history of the fight against racism is really a critical part of labor's history. The fight against racism is a fight for all workers. Exactly. The fight for the black workers in this country is a fight for all workers. Exactly. And we need to mobilize the labor movement in this country to stand up and make that fight, because labor has the power. And what disturbs me the most, one of the things that disturbed me the most, is in Trump's first term, he was making racist attacks on blacks, on women, on browns, and not one national union leader called him out. Not one. My union, the CWA, all these national unions, they're silent. What are they afraid of? Their own members are being attacked. Immigrants are being attacked. Who are their own members? Including today, Haitians are being attacked. And Haitian workers in New York are in the hospitals, and we're going to talk about that, what's going on in New York, because they're attacking TPS, temporary protective status, and they're attacking workers that take care of working people in this country. That's who they're attacking. And one of the unions in this country that has power, that has a history, including in the 1934 Teamster General Strike, is the Teamsters Union. And there was an election, and it's the fight to have democracy and representation. And one of the slates that developed was the Fearless Slate by Richard Hooker Jr., who stood up and said, we have to tell the truth. We have to defend working people, and regardless of the cost. And you have to be brave. People are afraid. People are afraid of being fired by the company. People are afraid of being retaliated and not getting support from their union. So there's a lot of intimidation and coercion. I understand that because I was a union member who was active, both fighting management and fighting my own union. So that's part of what we face, and that's why a lot of workers are silent in this country. But Richard stood up and fought, and he's continuing to fight. Richard Hooker, Jr., President or Secretary-Treasurer of Local 623 in Philadelphia. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you. Just give you a little background about myself. So I come out of UPS Craft, started in 1999, came from a right-to-work state down in North Carolina. Went to Drexel University, transferred from North Carolina A&T, and started my career at UPS. Coming from a right-to-work state, didn't even know anything about unions, because everybody knows in the South, they don't talk about unions, right? That's a bad word, right? So coming up to the north, didn't know anything about unions, but there was something in me. I guess God placed it in me. I just don't like bullies. I don't like people believing that their race or what side of the tracks they come from makes you better than the janitor. You know, all of us are the same. All of us are equal. No matter how many zeros on your check, you're just as equal as me. And so I always had that mindset that I don't care your status. That doesn't impress me. How you treat the janitor should be the same way you treat the CEO.
That's right.
They're both God's children. And so we put a caucus together in my local after a contract that was just not good for our members. And so we put a caucus together. I'm from local 623 in Philadelphia. And so we put a caucus together, 623 Lives Matter. Because again, in my local, there has never been a black person to lead the local. Now, Philadelphia might be one of the largest, blackest cities in the north. So how come a local that is predominantly black never had a black principal officer? So we were fighting racism, right? And so we came up with a name, 623 Lives Matter, right? We're just gonna hit it head on. We ain't gonna run from it. I'm a black man. But if you're concerned more about my race than your pension, if you're more concerned about my race than your health care, if you're more concerned about my race than the employer, then you have a bigger problem. Because I'm not taking money out of your pocket for your health care or your pension or worker protections. The boss is doing that. And the people we have elected have not been doing a good job of protecting those things. What are we going to do about it? So because of the stereotypes and all these things, we had a campaign a little different. Because what they always say about black men, we just want cars and money. So what we did was, hey, listen, we're going to take a pay cut right off the bat. All 3 years of our first term, we took a pay cut. So what's your issue now? Another thing is, you want the car. Keep the car. I got my own car. What is your issue now? Because we want to put it out in front. If your problem is race and not the employer, you the issue, not us.
That's right.
So we took all the issues away, right? We ended up winning. So I became the first black person to lead the local in 2020.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
And so we ran for re-election, won that in 2023, and for the first time in the entire history of our local, a leadership team ran unopposed.
Ooh.
That was in 2025.
Ooh,
so,
yes, yes.
yeah. So we took that momentum of trying to change a local union to try to take it to a national level. So, of course, racism, how are we going to combat a machine and a system that says that only white men can lead the local union or the international union? Because for 123 years, it's always been a white man. Always. How do you fight that, right? So I want to thank Brother Aubrey and Yvette for being teammates of mine on our Fearless slate. Because they understood and still understand why it's important for the union, especially the Teamsters, because we in everything from A to Z, right? But we don't fight. We fight a particular group, right? We don't fight for everybody. If you support me, I got you. But if you're Richard Hooker or Aubrey or Yvette, you got to go. We're not going to support you. So we came up last summer with this Fearless slate because we wanted everybody to know that we were fearless. We knew we were going up against a machine and a system that was not going to be kind to us. But you can't be afraid when you're fighting against a bully. How can a Teamster, not even a Teamster leader, how can a leader of a union organization back someone like Donald Trump?
That's all on the news.
How can you go and speak at his party?
That was all on the news.
How can you do that? How? To Steve's point, a large contingency of your members are black and brown people. The person you support doesn't like black and brown people. A large contingency of your people are female. What Donald Trump feels about females.
I mean, you don't like me.
Right. What do you say? We got to grab him by the you know what?
That's right.
How can you support someone like that? But that is our general president. And I get the whole thing about trying to work with everybody, but for all Obama was, he had the House and the Senate and the presidency. What did he do for labor?
Not a thing.
Donald Trump, House and Senate, what has he done for labor?
It's the same.
Same. So you can't depend on the Democrats, can't depend on the Republicans. You got to depend on yourself. Come up with our own party, independent of Democrats and Republicans, because they have shown us that neither party cares. They don't care. So in this campaign, that was our message. Stop depending on your local leader. Yeah, he has a responsibility, or she has a responsibility, but it's you on the shop floor, not your local leader. You can make things happen. Yeah, I understand that you elected them to fight, but what are you going to do?
That's true. That's true.
Right? At a certain point, we got to stop pointing our fingers at somebody else, because you got 4 pointing back at you.
That's right. That's true.
What are we going to do to make things better for ourselves? I was reading this book called The Collective Bargain by Jane McAlevey. And in her introduction, it says, if you are depending on the government or somebody to come and help you, close the book. You have to depend on yourself. You have to depend on your labor. If you stop working today, what happens? I think during COVID, I think we lost a golden opportunity to really show our power, because all of a sudden we were heroes. We were needed. We were special.
That's right.
Oh my God, they use all kind of adjectives. Man, we love you guys. Thank you for showing up. What happens if people don't show up for work during COVID? This country is over. It dies. But why can't we use that not just in contract time, but every single day? I was listening to Sean Fain the other day talk about his parents when Reagan fired the air traffic controllers. Right. His parents said, why is everybody going to work? Why? Why are we working? If you can wipe out a whole 13,000 people, we shouldn't be working.
That's true.
My question was, when Donald Trump came in office this time around, he shut down the NLRB, fired over 1 billion federal workers, TSA workers, you don't have a contract. Why do we go to work?
That's right.
Why do we go to work?
That's right.
Donald Trump did what you gonna do? Man, we ain't showing up. Cheryl Nelson, you remember what Cheryl Nelson did during COVID? Hey, Donald, hey, listen, man, if you don't give our people what we need, we ain't flying no planes. You know what he did? Oh, I got you. Gave them what they needed. Why don't we do the same thing on a day-to-day basis? The workers run the country.
Yes, we do.
There's this commercial I always use when I do these speeches. It says that Duncan says America runs on Duncan. It doesn't. It runs on the workers.
That's right. That's right.
Again, if everybody keeps their hand in their pocket, nothing moves, no plane is flown, nothing is delivered.
No buses drove.
No buses are driven.
That's right.
Right? No trucks are unloaded or offloaded. We have the power to make things change. Not the Democrats, not the Republicans, we, the working class. My mentor, Chris, and I miss him every day. I keep his card on me just to remind me that how important he is to me. I went to his service, and something he says, and I still remember it. The union is the vanguard of the working class. We're the military wing. That means we're supposed to be the ones to fight. There's a war going on. What are we doing to protect the working class? Trump comes in and dismantles the whole NLRB. We stayed at home. Took workers' rights away from them. We stayed at home and stayed silent. We can't complain about the Democrats or Republicans when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. From the shop floor leader all the way up to the local level leader. What are we doing to make sure that our members are ready to fight? It's bigger than voting. It's bigger than Democrats. It's bigger than Republicans. It's about the working class. Our fearless slate, and Steve, I want you to make sure you post what I'm about to say. I want you to do this because it's very important. This is why I say you can't depend on any government agency or whatever. So myself, Aubrey, and Yvette, again, we were part of the fearless slate. Back in March, we filed charges on the odd slate for forcing the organizers from the IBT to go out and collect signatures for their campaign. Campaigning on the union dime. That is the biggest no-no in any type of union campaign. You cannot use union resources. We filed this charge in March. Here it is July. We still haven't heard back from that charge, right? So they interviewed the complainants, saw the evidence, and I'm talking about text messages, pictures of them collecting signatures, pictures of them using union resources. Nothing. So you know what we did? Went to the Department of Labor. Department of Labor flew down to meet with some of the complainants, saw the text messages, the video evidence, and the pictures. Here it is again, it's August now. Nothing. This is why I say you can't depend on anybody. You got to do it for yourself. If I had done that, I would be under the jail. They'd have been kicked me out of the union.
That's right.
If I went out, Aubrey, Yvette, go out and get signatures on union time or the dime, it's over for us. It's over. Not only did he do that, his podcast, employer contributions. They found him guilty, but he continued to do it. You know what his lawyer said? We can't force him to stop. Again, if we do that, it's over.
Yeah.
So that's still out there. We're still waiting for a remedy. They're trying to sweep it under the rug, and we believe it's because this is Trump's Department of Labor. They're going to look out for their boy. Oh, Brian, you support me, I'm going to protect you. That's why I say, stop depending on politicians to fight for you. Get with your community, organize at your church.
That's right.
Organize at the shop floor level. That's the way you win. Stop depending on people for fights that you could do yourself. Right? That's what we got to start organizing. The general strike, 1934, right? That was important. 40-hour work week, 8-hour day. They didn't just give it to us.
No, we had to pay for that.
We had to stop working. If you want to get anything, you got to stop working. Stop giving them your labor. It's that simple. I know it's everybody got bills. I got that. I got you. We all got bills.
That's right.
But do you want a future or you want to die? Because that's what's happening. We're dying right now. I had this idea that if every labor organization in this country were to get together, start buying property, start buying grocery stores, start buying apartment buildings, start buying all these things for our members. So our members can say, my union is doing these things. Give them a discount on your rent. Give them a discount on your mortgage. My union is doing this for me. Right? So when I go to the grocery store, this is a union-owned grocery store. My groceries are cheaper here. Other people are going to realize that. You know what? How do I get involved in this union? This union member right here, he paid $1,200 in rent. I'm paying $1,500. How do I get a piece of that?
Right. That's right.
Organize your workforce. You can get it done too. There's a lot we can do if we just combine our resources. But we won't do it because we depended on the Democrats and the Republicans. Create our own party, be independent, let them come and chase us instead of we chasing them. Withhold our labor and make demands. Make demands. We could do it. They need us more than we need them.
Oh, yeah.
And COVID showed us that. And I think we have to have that same mindset. Don't go to work. Don't go to work. General strike, shut everything down. It worked before, it can work again. So that's all I got. I just want to make sure people understand that we have to start depending on each other, not any government agency, not some type of politician. Start depending on yourself, your brothers, your sisters, your coworkers. Start organizing, start mobilizing, because that's the only way we're going to get out of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And one of the other issues that we face, all working people face in this country, is AI and robotics. And the people, the billionaires, the techno-fascists who run this country are spending literally billions and billions of dollars on AI and robotics to get rid of us all over this country. And this is really a life and death threat. And one of the things that I discovered in talking with Teamsters was that they were fighting the torture of these infrared cameras in the cabs of trucks. And unfortunately, the union, along with UPS, were refusing to do anything. And I consider that a crime. When people are getting tortured from this equipment, and the union doesn't do anything, what's a union for? Right. I mean, the basic issue of a union is to protect the members. You protect the members and educate the members. And unfortunately, in this capitalist system, introduction of technology is unlimited. Right. That was part of Project 2025. Deregulate everything, let it rip. Right. That's what they did. No controls. The Fearless Slate took it up, and our next speaker is part of the Fearless Slate, Robert Stallworth from IBT Local 100 in Toledo. He's a member of TNBC, and they are continuing the fight to defend themselves and to defend the members. And this is not just about Teamsters, because it's in every truck in this country. And I was at a workshop today on Amazon, and what they're doing with robotics, because they want to have robot trucks, get rid of all truck drivers. I mean, this is facing the destruction of truck drivers in this country. Amazon, all companies, not just UPS. So a fight against this, a fight to protect the workers, is a fight for all workers. It's a way of organizing millions of workers who are being affected by this. So welcome, Aubrey Stallworth, Local 20.
Stallworth. I'm from Local 20, Toledo, Ohio. And I'm just a regular guy, you know, out here in the labor field, just like everybody else. And the attack on black labor is crazy, especially coming, you know, down south. With everything that's going on, from removing our black leadership to just placing people where they ain't supposed to be, or spreading them out to where they want them to be. So I don't got no badges, or, you know, I've been a Teamster for 31 years, working down in Toledo, Ohio. As far as AI, I don't necessarily have access to it like truck drivers or this and that, but I called Steve and said I want to educate myself on what's going on in the work field as far as black labor. And a guy, Eric Johnson, who is also a part of our slate, is doing a camera thing on this as far as, because he got affected by it. He had eye surgery, tumors, all this and that, and the light is directly angled out of the truck into the facial area. So it's affecting a lot of drivers. So he did a survey, started calling people, and it's just more than him going on across the country. So some of this stuff we need to educate ourselves on or whatnot. And I want to thank Richard Hooker for making me a part of the Fearless Slate, because as a worker, a black worker, right, you get chances to do something. You find purpose when you're doing it or whatnot. And you learn about black labor, how this country, for instance, without black labor, I mean, this country, we put it on our back. Yeah. We built it, you know, and continuing, we did it for free. We didn't want to, but we did it for free. So, you know, when I was on Hooker Slate, they called me the Army of One. So I embraced it, though, because I'm the only one working in my shop. So they was like, he has nobody to represent. He can't even go on strike. You know, they made a joke out of it. So what I did was I embraced it. So now, ever since then, I go around grabbing one person at a time, educating and building the army to fight this war, the corruption inside of the Teamsters, the IBT. So with Mariana Batiste, she done formed a group up in Cali called the Coalition. So every Sunday, We talk to Teamster workers all around the country who having problems, struggling. And speaking of the South, Jacksonville, Local 512, I believe, they got an LLC inside of the local that brings white workers off of the street, pays them $41 an hour at a UPS facility. Talking to some of the members that's been there 25 to 30 years, how they get bypassed. And nobody's doing nothing about it. And all of a sudden, they get the NLRB involved, National Labor Relations Board. They don't call him. He comes in and say, hey, y'all need to do something. Y'all need to come together and fight this. Y'all got a big case. So we working with them now on building the case with the NLRB, because this is crazy. And then speaking of that, the TNBC, Teamster National Black Caucus, we got a conference down here, by the way, you know, and I tell you, it's a mess. It's a mess, and we can do better. But the one thing that we not gonna do is give up. Thanks to Hooker, Dr. Cooper, and some other people in there, we in the right direction with our chairman stepping down, and that's moving in the right direction on the way it was going, you know. So I've been a part of the TNBC since 1996. You know, a guy named Ernest Booz, Chuck Spruce brought me in, talking to me about it. But see, at my local, it was against the law. It was almost like being in slave times. We had to do it secretly. And those two guys was handled from Local 20. Ernest Booz was fired, got in a fist fight for even trying to start the TNBC down there. You know, so in 2016, we started up again after they got fired, right? So the first two calls I made was with Al Mixon and Chris Severe, who I know is Richard's mentor, but he's also my mentor. The first two calls I made was to them because they was presidents of the organization. And even though this organization, how can I say it, Chris wasn't on good terms with the TNBC, you know, and Al was exiled from the TNBC, you know, and I'm ashamed of us because we let them exile Al Mixon because of something he was supposed to do, but if you Google it, he didn't do anything, right? They was afraid of him. And if the IBT is afraid of him, why didn't we bring him back? If they wanted to get rid of him because he was I don't know if he was the first, but he ran against Hoffa in one of the elections, right? And after that, he didn't win. Hypothetically, it's 400,000 black Teamsters, right? Just imagine we came together. Just imagine. And from my understanding, the TNBC started, the conversation started in 65, 66, 71, they had a meeting. So they had concerns about black leadership roles within the locals and the IBT, or the lack of roles or whatnot. But what I don't understand is, how can the IBT appoint the first president of a group that we started, which was John Cleveland? You know, and this is what I got off of Al Mixon and, you know, Chris Severe, and then I did research it. So once again, we let a white man appoint a president inside of our organization, and it ain't been the same. Organically, it was designed to put us in leadership roles in the locals and the IBT. So what I've been seeing is this, and I've been questioning it ever since, right? The classes. Why is we got holistic medicine as one of our classes? How is that going to help me in the locals and the IBT? The classes have, in order to become a president, a vice president, a trustee, secretary or treasurer, recording secretary, we need to have those classes. That's the only way we're going to be able to affect leaderships or be a part of what's going on. And if we can't educate our own, we got a problem. And I ain't gonna say it's the worst case of black on black crime I done seen, but this is ridiculous. You know, we come down here in New Orleans where they taking away our black leadership. They redistricting, putting people where they want them to be to affect voting, and we just sitting at the hotel.
Yeah.
We sitting at the hotel waiting on breakfast tomorrow. We need, I ain't gonna say help, because like Hooker said, right? We have to take it upon our own initiative to come together and understand our power.
That's right.
Martin Luther King Jr. gave us the blueprint, the Montgomery bus boycott. Shut the whole damn country down. We got to find a way. Right. Where we all came together as a community, as a village, as a country of black people sticking together. We don't have to do nothing like what happened in January 6th, storm the place. You know, we don't have to do that. This country can't succeed without us.
That's right.
You know, and that's what we have to understand. We have to educate ourselves, and one of the ways of educating is getting this TNBC together. Put the right people in there so that it can organically be what it's supposed to be. And right now, we in the right direction, right? And it's going to be a process. You know, yeah, we going to struggle. We in there arguing. We ain't fighting, you know, but almost. It's been a couple of pullbacks, you know. We won't be in Hilton long. I think after tomorrow we'll be out. You know, that's why I stayed at the Sonesta. You know, I seen this coming. I heard it chirping or whatnot. So we got to do better though, as a people, as a force in the Teamsters. And in order, I went down and Hooker showed me something when I went to Vegas, right? And I looked at that room, and it was all them. All them. And the reason why it's like that is because the TNBC should be used as a school, a tool to educate us, right? Don't be afraid to make this thing what it should be. It's a black organization. We should be able to walk in, get those classes that can train us, because give you a prime example, right? Most of the people in there don't know that they can even become or run for a position at the locals or the IBT, because it's not being told to them, taught to them, right? So if you talk to 30 people, one of them will know. That's how bad it is. And this is our own people. We all meeting up together. We got to do better. It's on us, you know. So another thing with AI, after talking with Steve and stuff on the podcast and learning about what's going on, Mariana Batiste out in by Sacramento, California, excuse me, we are putting together a rank and file march on the attack on Teamster workers, you know, by the government, by the Teamsters, which are doing nothing about it. Sean O'Brien don't care about, you know, the camera. He's saying everything is okay, you know. So a lot of the truck drivers are complaining. They not only in UPS, they in DHL, ABF, most of the trucking industries or whatnot, just inside the Teamsters, and some of the buses. So, you know, it's up to us to kind of, you know, like Hooker said, we need to find purpose in all this as black workers, find a way to unify, come together, because this is what they want us to do. When I'm sitting over here at the Hilton, I'm saying to myself, boy, they just laughing and saying, look at them. Because ain't none of us together. You got different locals, like Chicago, 20-something locals, and they're afraid to come together. From my understanding, there's 40-some locals in the LA vicinity afraid to come together. We need a leader, a person that's going to galvanize, bring us together, and not be afraid to educate us, you know? And I ain't going to talk because I think I can keep on going now that I'm up here. You know, so I just want to say 2028, we are putting together a labor march, the multi-million person march on D.C. It's time for the election, right? But also bringing people like us, black Teamsters, white Teamsters, Hispanic, just all of them, putting them together to, how can I say, see if we get any questions and answers about the attack against the rank and file and the Teamsters on why we can't, how can I say, why they aren't helping us. And when they put it like this, most locals, they use the membership to endorse, right? So if they endorse like Ramaswamy out of Ohio, right, for, I believe it's governor, right? So it ain't the people. We don't want him because he's against labor, anti-labor, right? So why can't we endorse him? So understanding that we are the rank and file and they have the power, so to speak, why can't we take that power back, put it into the rank and file, and we pick our own candidate, So I'm gonna leave that there. A date is coming soon, though. Thanks.
Struggle against segregation, the struggle for equality has been a battle for the history of the United States. It's nothing new, as the brothers and sisters have said. And I come out of that struggle because I was a student with our next speaker at San Francisco State, fighting for open admissions, the right of young people to go to school for free, and also for ethnic studies, the teaching about our history. And today we face a government which says we shouldn't learn about the Civil War because it hurts feelings. Well, yeah, the Civil War hurt feelings, all right, because it was about slavery and fighting slavery and getting rid of slavery in this country. And I think that history, the real history of this country, is what they call waking up. Because when people learn about the real history, they get an education. And our next speaker, Clarence Thomas, is former Secretary-Treasurer of ILW Local 10 and was active in the San Francisco State Strike and also the Million Worker March. So welcome, Clarence Thomas.
Solidarity, greetings, everyone. First of all, I just want to say this podium is still reverberating from the previous speakers. Woo. I'm not a Teamster. I'm a longshoreman. And third generation. And longshore workers are some of the most important workers to the global economy.
Exactly.
Whenever you watch CNN or MS Now, and they talk about tariffs and Trump, what do you see? You see a crane, you see a ship, you see a container. It's the longshore workers that are responsible for the movement of maritime cargo. ILWU, International Longshore and Warehouse Union, is on the West Coast from Bellingham, Washington, all the way down to San Diego, Alaska, and Hawaii, and also Vancouver, Canada. I was invited to come to the TNBC conference here in New Orleans to speak with regards to paying tribute to a man by the name of Fitzverity Christophe Chris Silvera, a man who I met in 2004 when we were building for the Million Worker March. And I'm so glad to hear the last speaker refer to workers mobilizing in their own name, independent of the Republican and Democratic Party. That's how I met Chris. And for those of you who knew Chris, he was a brilliant strategist. He was a man who could get things done.
Yes.
He didn't make any promises he couldn't keep. But he had a great sense of humor. Great sense of humor. When I first reached out to him on the phone. We were building for the march. And I told him who I was. Chris said, "Get the fuck out of here." Clarence Thomas, but at the Million Worker March. I'm just so grateful he didn't hang that phone up. When we mobilized the Million Worker March, you have to first understand something about ILW Local 10. We're the only predominantly African American or black longshore local on the West Coast. The only one. We also have, I think, over 25% women in our local. We have a very diverse workforce. And most of our work is in Oakland. And I'm sure you know about Oakland. That's the home of the Black Panther Party, of which I was a member. They used to have the Oakland Raiders, but they are now in Las Vegas. Not as good as they were when they were in Oakland. But Oakland is a place where there has been significant progressive movement and change over the years. One of the things that I want to say very quickly as it relates to the question of the black community and labor. There's a book that Chris and I did called 1934, The Year of Good Trouble. This includes a speech that Chris delivered at the International Longshore and Warehouse Union Local 10 in 2024 on what we call Bloody Thursday. The Teamsters here have Bloody Friday as it relates to the Minneapolis strike that took place in 1934, which is addressed in this book. 1934, 3 strikes took place. One in Toledo, Ohio, Sister Yvette, with the auto light struggle with the UAW. The next was the ILA West Coast waterfront strike, which paralyzed the entire West Coast. San Francisco was the #1 port city in the world. And the third was the Minneapolis general strike in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Both the ILA West Coast waterfront strike and the Minneapolis strike both started in May of 1934, during the height of the Depression. Well, let me tell you a little bit about some history. Some would call it black history, but it's American labor history. During this West Coast waterfront strike, black people didn't make up a very significant part of the population of San Francisco or Oakland in 1934. But whenever there was a strike, that was an opportunity for black people to go to work. Yeah, we were scabbing. We were trying to survive and take care of our families. And this created a wonderful opportunity for the shock troops of capitalism, the shipping companies, to be able to use us, the black community, to break the strike.
Right, right.
There was a man by the name of Harry Bridges who was an immigrant not from Latin America or Mexico, but from all places, Australia. And he was a seaman. And he had read Karl Marx. He had been all around the world and saw how longshore workers were treated, how dangerous the work was. And he and other radicals who were leftists, like the ones who led the strike in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This was the left, the hard left. Members of the Communist Party, syndicalists, various other political ideologies, because these were the men who couldn't be bought off. They believed in working class democracy. class-conscious trade unionism, not collaborating with the boss trade unionists. So, Bridges, who understood the intersectionality between race and class, understood that they couldn't win the strike with black people crossing the picket line. And what the boss would do, whenever there was a strike, he would keep some of the blacks who were the scabs and hire them. That's how they got hired on the waterfront. But we cannot overlook the racism of the white working class at that time.
Right.
They couldn't understand it. And to show you the contradiction in this country with regards to the question of race and class, one of the major reasons why there was a West Coast waterfront strike was because of something called the shape-up. I don't know if any of you ever watched the movie called On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando, or even the film that I like, Cinderella Man, with Russell Crowe, portraying Jim Braddock. But part of the subplot of the Cinderella Man is he's working on the waterfront when he's not fighting. And you see what the shape-up is. That's when a boss picks and chooses who can go to work. Sometimes it's on the basis of ethnicity. Sometimes it's on the basis of nepotism. Other times it's on the basis of kickbacks, even to the degree of men having to allow their sisters to sleep with the bosses or give them whiskey. Slavery. This is one of the major reasons why they had the 1934 strike, to end the shape-up. Wow. Whites can't even get jobs, let alone blacks. So, having to get rid of that system and having the right for workers to have an independent union hall, which all of us enjoy, was a part of the strike. But Bridges was white, and he needed to have black comrades to help him facilitate reaching the black community. And there was a man by the name of C.L. Dellums, who was a Pullman porter and had gotten fired. And A. Philip Randolph decided to hire him as an organizer. He went to California. He believed black people should have a right to work on that waterfront. So he consulted with Harry Bridges to have what I call labor in the pulpit, where Bridges was able to go to the black churches in Oakland and San Francisco and appeal to the black community to not cross the picket line. This is before DEI, affirmative action. This is boots on the ground.
That's right. Come on.
Right.
Come on with it.
Right.
The intersectionality between race and class, which is what the bosses use to keep us divided.
That's right. That's right.
Why we don't have national health care. Why we don't have a national living wage. Someone asked Chris Silvera a few months ago what he thought the minimum wage should be in New York City. Chris, being a man who wasn't shy, said it needed to be $50 an hour. You know how expensive it is to live in New York City? You say, well, that's about the right amount, isn't it? So anyway, getting back to the Bay Area, there was no reason for the black community to listen to this Aussie. He had an accent and a big nose, and I said, what is this? What is he talking about? So Bridges said, we're here to offer the Negro community, that's what we were called in those days. We didn't want to be called colored or the other word. We're here to offer the Negro community a real New Deal. if you in the community will not cross the picket line, we will make sure that black people will be hired on this waterfront up and down the coast. Really? And they thought about it. But this is what you also need to understand too, because I got to tell the truth. Blacks who tried to work as scabs face serious injury from the longshoremen who were on strike. So it was dangerous to go out there and cross that picket line. The employer would put people on boats, bring them in. You could live on the boat, on the ship, while you worked. Anyway, they said, okay, let's see. That was the determining factor in winning that strike, when the employer could not rely on black people crossing that picket line.
We have power.
Real power.
Real power.
Because Bridges understood that the destiny of the black worker and the white worker were inextricably linked. And what that means is democracy applies to all workers. Fairness. One of the mottos of our union is that we don't care how much education you have, who your mother or father is, it's all about your ability. In my local, every officer can only serve 2 consecutive terms. Then they got to go back to work for at least a year before they can run again. Now I want to fast forward back to Chris Silvera and the speech that he gave in this book. We can learn a lot of lessons about a year of good trouble, 1934. And in 2004, when ILWU Local 10, which is a predominantly African-American local, we called for a million worker march on Washington, D.C. on October 17, 2004. And it was around the basis of such things as universal health care, national living wage, stop the dismantling of public education, slashing the military budget, enforcement of all civil rights, and more. And let me tell you what the AFL-CIO said. While we may agree with many of these objectives and goals, we will not be devoting any resources to the Million Worker March because we'll be in the battleground states. I don't even know if many of you remember who was even running for the on the Democratic ticket. I'll remind you. John Edwards was running as vice president. What was the other John's last name, Steve? You forgot it too, huh? It'll come to me later on. He represented John Kerry. Alzheimer's ain't kicked in yet. He represented Wall Street. He was even thinking of putting a Republican on his ticket, or even Lee Iacocca. This is how ridiculous it was. But during the Democratic convention, right before the Democratic convention took place in Boston, Massachusetts, in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, at the compound of the Kennedy family, there was a mini labor summit. And let me tell you who was there. James Hoffa from the Teamsters, Andy Stern from SEIU. It was a man by the name of Jim Spinoza from the ILWU, the head of the AFL-CIO. They were all there. And let me tell you what the discussion came around to. the Million Worker March. And how, oh, it's a wonderful idea, but it's the wrong time. That's the same thing they told Dr. King. Now I'm going to show you how, if history doesn't repeat itself, it certainly does rhyme. We called the Million Worker March the MWM. There was an MWM that took place in 1941, sisters and brothers. It was the March on Washington, the first one, led by A. Philip Randolph, who at one time was a socialist and a radical black trade unionist, of which Chris Silvera was in that tradition. He wanted to bring 10,000 Negroes to Washington, D.C. for the purpose of ending discrimination in government, in hiring, in the military, and specifically in the defense industry for jobs. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was shaking in his boots because he had to accommodate the Dixiecrats in the South. And he did not want 10,000 Negroes coming to Washington, D.C. He was serious. I'm talking about A. Philip Randolph. He was serious about bringing them. Something very unfortunate happened. A. Philip Randolph called off the march because Franklin Delano Roosevelt issued an executive order calling for a fair employment practice committee, saying that it would be illegal, or it would be prohibited for any kind of discrimination in the defense hiring industry. They didn't integrate the military. But the march was called off, much to the dismay of many black radical trade unionists who had put their lives and career on the line. Unlike the March on Washington in 1941, we didn't call off ours. We didn't call it off. We went forward. But we had to go up against the AFL-CIO and the Democratic Party. I want to tell you something about what Chris Silvera said when he came to the kickoff rally of the Million Worker March. This is when I first met him in person. He said, he told John Sweeney, who was then the head of the AFL-CIO, he said, hell, if Minister Farrakhan can bring over 1 million men to Washington, D.C., how come labor can't do it? Pregnant pause. He didn't get an answer from John Sweeney. 1 year later, do you know Brother Chris Silvera arranged for a meeting of black labor with Minister Louis Farrakhan in New York City? I was there. And for those of you who've read my first book, Mobilizing in Our Own Name, the Million Worker March, you'll see Chris Silvera, Minister Farrakhan, you'll see Chris with his son Bashiri, you'll see Sister Brenda Stokely, Larry Holmes, and of course, yours truly. We sat down and met with Minister Farrakhan, and we reminded him how we were at the Million Man March in 1995. There were Teamsters there, longshore workers from across the country, school teachers, janitors, hustlers, dope dealers. I've never seen anything quite like it. Black people took over Washington, D.C. And while it was a great event, there was something missing. On that stage was not one Teamster, not one longshoreman, not one bus driver, Not one carpenter, not one plumber. We reminded Minister Farrakhan of that. Minister Farrakhan was very open with us and said he would welcome having labor on that stage. And let me tell you why we were there. We weren't members of the Nation of Islam. We weren't Muslims in that group. But we understood the importance of black labor being in a place where there was going to be 1 million black workers. We needed to be there showing our leadership, expressing our interest. You know, when Chris invited Minister Louis Farrakhan to the TBNC educational conference in 2005 in Chicago, I was there. You should have seen the knees that were shaking when Farrakhan was coming to the Teamster National Black Caucus. Oh my gosh. What is Chris Silvera up to? This is madness. Farrakhan got up and spoke about the split that was taking place with Change to Win, who broke off from the AFL-CIO, saying how bad that was. Preaching unity. When that Million-Man March 10th anniversary took place in 2005, one of the most powerful speeches that was given that day came from Brother Chris Silvera. And he spoke directly to the multiracial working class in this country. For those of you who cannot remember, George W. Bush, he suspended Davis-Bacon. And for those of you who may have forgotten because of the lateness of the evening, I'll remind you what it is. Davis-Bacon is a federal law that says if there's a public works project using federal monies, prevailing wages have to be paid.
Okay.
This is a pro-union policy. George Bush suspended it so that contractors wouldn't have to pay it. Now, I want to be very fair and honest here. The Democrats were pushing very hard to try to get Bush to rescind that order. But listen, if we don't tell our own narrative and story, it won't get told. Right. A couple of weeks after Chris spoke, at the 10th anniversary of the Million-Man March, Bush decided to implement the change. I think Chris had something to do with that. Because when Chris Silvera was on that stage, he was speaking for 400,000 black Teamsters that day. It was so compelling that Brother James Hoffa even wrote a letter in support of Teamsters going to the 10th anniversary of the Million-Man March. It's in my book. Hoffa wrote a letter saying how wonderful it is because we need to be addressing issues such as Social Security, national living wage, and so forth. My wife is telling me to wrap it up, but I want to end with this. This book that I'm holding up in my hand, I didn't publish this. It's called The Red Seas. I'm going to give a plug to the man who wrote it because it's connected to Chris Silvera. This is the book about Ferdinand Smith. Many of you may not know who he is or who he was. He was at one time the most powerful black labor leader in the United States of America. He was the co-founder of the National Maritime Union. That's the union that oversees merchant seamen. Chris Silvera is in that tradition. A black West Indian or Jamaican, who came to this country as a youth, who both went into unions that are related to transportation. Smith was on ships. Chris was working to clear and make tracks safe for those people who are traveling on Metro North. Both men led predominantly white unions. Chris Silvera, local, is predominantly white. And he was the longest serving principal officer in the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I'm going to close with this. I totally support a million workers' march, however you want to describe it. We have a wonderful opportunity here to once again try to reach out to our white sisters and brothers who are a part of them. They are finally coming to grips that they just like us.
Right.
Yeah, because Trump promised them some kind of we're going to take you back to the 1950s. Make America great again.
Make America white.
We have an opportunity to reach them and to make them understand the error of their ways. Many of them voted for Obama twice. But as Brother Hooker said, what happened when Obama was in there? We wanted the Employee Free Choice Act. Did we get it? Nope. Hell no. So in conclusion, the working class interest is separate from that of the Democratic Party. Yeah, absolutely. The Democratic Party is dead and stinking, sisters and brothers. We see that right now. It's gone. Yes, we see Democratic Socialists winning primaries. Some may even win. But Hakeem Jeffries and the boys, they don't want to get off that tit of those billionaires. They want to stay on it. So I predict that we're going to see a working class party emerge out of this contradiction. But one thing that has to be made very clear, black trade unionists are going to be in the vanguard of this movement.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Clarence. And I have to say, in the South, and in recognition of the struggle against slavery in the Civil War, it was only because of the proclamation of the Emancipation and saying to the black working class of the South, your struggle is for freedom, joining the North, that the struggle against slavery and to win the Civil War was successful. It took that. I think we have to be clear that Lincoln did not immediately free the slaves.
Right.
They wanted to keep the old relationship. And when they weren't winning the war, the only way they could do it is to say, you have your freedom. And one of the things about the strike wave of the African Americans, slaves, they went on strike. They refused to work for the master. That was a mass struggle of opposition to slavery, which is unrecognized in this country. This is the real history of the working class in this country that people have to understand. The struggle against slavery would not have been successful without the black working class, the black slaves fighting slavery. It wasn't just the North, it was the blacks taking up the fight here in the South. And I think that's a lesson that we have to bring to the entire working class. The freedom of people in this country is going to be led by black workers in this country.
Absolutely.
The fight against slavery, the fight for equality. And that is something we have to understand if we're going to take the struggle forward. So our next speaker is Richard Bell. He's with the NAACP District A Vice President in the state of Louisiana, veteran chair. And I would like to add, whether it's possible or not, there has to be a call coming out from the unions, the TMBC, from the NAACP, for there to be a national action in this country against the attack on black representation and against resegregation. We need to call out all the unions of this country to have a national day of action in every city council, every community in this country. What's happening here is not just about what's happening here, it's about the future of this country. And we have to build that up, and that coming from Louisiana, coming from the southern states, the workers, the NAACP, and the unions would be a powerful call. We have to build that movement, really, if we're going to take this struggle forward. So welcome, Brother Bell.
Preacher, you know I take long, but I will be short. I'm Reverend Richard Bell of New Orleans. I'm also the NAACP District A Vice President of the state of Louisiana, over 5 parishes. I came a long way with the racism. In 1977, well, I joined the military in 75. In 1977, I was the first black male to go to the EOC school, the Equal Opportunity School. I didn't realize down the road that's exactly what I would have to do. So when they sent me to the school, to really let me fail, because there wasn't too many blacks in that school. It was a 3-year course that any of the presidents you had in you, they got it out of you. It's a 3-year course. You go 2 years each year. And in the second year, I was ready to give it up because it was too tense. But some said, stay and fight. And I stood there and made sure I got certified to be an EOC. Not realizing down the road, this is going to help me a lot. I'm the 4th black commander of the American Legion in 200 years. 4 black, the 4th black. My post I'm in started in 1928. And as of right now, I'm still the first black of the post I'm in, post 125, the first black that took command of that post. The post has 14 people. I got up to 239, it's 90% black in the state of New Orleans. Not just that, 2 weeks ago, we had our conference, and 2 posters wanted to close. Nobody wanted to take those posters. I took both posters, and I'll be bringing up about 40 more people, because they know why I stand for righteousness. When I was state commander, I used to wonder why most of the posts in Louisiana had not that many blacks females, not that many blacks male. So my mission was to find out why the state of Louisiana American Legion is not having blacks in these posts. Well, I see why. I found 41 discrimination charters that was in the records for the last 200 years. I got each one amended. I told National, I say, as an EOC, you're going to amend them. I'm going to TV in Baton Rouge, and I'm going to read each charter that discriminates against females and black. They didn't want that. So I told them, I said, and if you don't amend them, we try to get the full-time staff fired. But I stand for righteousness, because as the veteran chair of this state, they did wrong by sending me to the duty to serve officer school. They held with claims. This year, it took me only 6 months to become 90% service connected, when some people waiting 7 years. This year, I helped 14 people became 100%. Because you cannot discriminate. You cannot discriminate. And I told Washington, where our claims go in Jonesville, you cannot discriminate against veterans. I go with the wives as well as the soldiers to get their percentage, because the veteran hospital is not helping them. I don't get paid for my duty, but God says serve while you could serve. And it's my duty to make sure I bring every veteran up, any EO complaints up. And little before I got my year up with the commander of the state, you know they tried to impeach me because I found that 4 people was writing checks without my approval. So I said, well, go ahead and impeach me, because then I'm going to get on the steps of Baton Rouge at the Capitol and I'll read off every charter. And I'll read off the ones that are writing checks without my approval, and I'm going to recommend jail time. Now, you know I did an independent audit, but they pulled on that audit till I got out, so they could throw the audits out, but I got the records. You could throw it out, but I still got the records. Because I did a change that my 2 predecessors, which was blackmailed before me, was worried about pleasing them. I went in there and found out why your rights were discriminated. And I did the biggest change in the state that you ever seen before. Even now, I'm the district commander, 3rd time around. And in June, they tried to, as Landry tried to do, they wanted the 1st district, which I'm in the state of Louisiana. They have 8 districts. They wanted to combine New Orleans to Jefferson. I said it's not going to happen, because New Orleans and Jefferson is 2 different veteran organizations with the American Legion. I said I will fight y'all with every inch of power I have. I got on that podium. I said, if you try to take us and put us in the 2nd district to strip us from our commission, then I'm going to fight for the rights of everybody in this 1st district. When I got on a platform, I told them I would send letters to every organization I had. It did not pass. We still the 1st district American Legion. Because I'm going to fight what was right. I don't care if you don't like me, but I'm going to fight what's right. So they can't not stop me, because I learned from the NAACP, when you fight, you win. That's right. Like I said, I'll be short. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
We have to stand up for all working people. And one of the things about the rise of fascism in this country is the attack on LGBTQ workers. They're trying to pit workers against each other. And that is a threat to all working people. And Yvette Avery, our next speaker, is a member of IBT Local 728 in Atlanta. She's a supporter of the Fearless Slate. She ran with the Fearless Slate and also the LGBTQ caucus in the Teamsters Union. And I think that the labor movement, again, has not stood up and attacked the people who are making these attacks. It's been silent. How can you be silent when you attack people because of their sexuality? How can you be silent? It's the same attacking people because of their race, because of their religion, because of their nationality. It's the same thing. We have to fight it. We have to unify the working class, and we have to defend all our brothers and sisters. Welcome, Yvette.
Yvette Avery. I am the treasurer and Southeast Regional Director of the Teamsters LGBTQ+ Caucus, a proud member of the Fearless Slate that ran this year against the IBT. Also, of course, ran as president for my local, because I feel like we have to be in position to fight and educate our members how to fight. We are constantly under attack. Our workers all over the country are under attack. Fascism is on the rise, and we must do all that we can to fight against it. Our rights are determined because we are human. We all deserve to have equal rights under the law. And if we don't have it, we need to fight and can continue to fight to get it. Our ancestors did that for us. I refuse to lay down because they stood up, and we're going to continue to do that. You know, our people, we're having fights. The legislation is attacking us, the corporations, our companies, and our union leadership. I always like to make a distinction between the union and the union leadership, because we, the members, are the union. So make sure we never say, well, the union is no good, because I'm not going to ever say I'm no good because I'm the union. So let's not talk about yourself. We have great self-esteem. Push up the union. What are you doing as the union to fight to make it better for your fellow brothers and sisters? Right now, AI automation is killing us. Unions should be stepping up and fighting against that. The Teamsters claim they did for UPS. I am UPS, been there 20 years. The fight was not there. We should have went on strike. We should have added language to fight AI and automation. We know we can't stop it. but create some jobs for your union workers within the AI. So you're going to automate this over here? Okay, cool. Make sure my members are trained on XYZ, so if this happens, they can take up here. We're not eliminating jobs. We need to be creating jobs within what's happening in the future. We know stuff is going to continue to happen. We've seen it for our entire lives. Things have changed over the years. We have technology now that we didn't have 20 years ago. It's things that change. We move with the change, but it does not eliminate our jobs. They didn't quite think it through. Because if you got robots and automation and all that doing all the jobs, who's going to buy your stuff? Okay, so you're going to create all this stuff and then everybody sit at home with no money to buy what you creating? Nobody thought about that all the way through. So they're not as bright as they appear to be. We are the ones that make the money for them off of our backs. Our labor creates, and then we go out and we buy. But if we don't have all of those elements involved, it won't continue to function as they think it would. You know, I am originally out of Alabama, but now in Georgia, both right to work. Roll Tide. And at will state, so I am proud to have a contract in place to protect my job. Me standing out, me fighting, me wanting to educate my members in the state of Georgia cost me my job twice in the same year. Because I refuse to lay down. I'm going to continue to fight. I called the police on my division manager and put a warrant on him. I filed against UPS with National Labor Relations Board charges for illegally firing me for wearing my union insignia at work as a union steward. And yeah, I got my job back the first time within a day, but you don't allow these type of behaviors to go unchecked. We are a union, we have a contract, we have rights, and we're going to exercise them all the way through. Whether it's the contract and you elevate that up to whatever your legal rights are, you continue to press. You let your members know, yes, we have a grievance process, but you can take it outside of here too after that. Make sure you follow all the rules, document everything. Make sure you have your ducks in a row, and you can always get them in the end. Utilize what laws you have. If you in a one-party state, record those fools. Like I say, anytime you in a room with them and you have the right and you are part of that conversation, utilize your legal rights. Always find out what they are, and that's something that I want our members to do, because anybody can do what I did. See, that division manager wasn't talking so loud like you do in the building when he was up in front of that judge, right? They had to ask him to speak up. Well, we don't have to ask you that in the building, because you treat us like you the overseer, you master, and we the slaves out here on the floor, right? So all of that stuff, you change, you see the demeanor changes. You recognize what power we really hold, and we have it all, and we better utilize it at every turn. And so I let everybody know the story. I recognize my union leadership works with my company to fire me because I decided I had the audacity to run for office. Why did this black woman decide she can run for office and take over this spot we've been holding all these years? Is she okay? Yeah, she's okay, because her ancestors fought so she could even be here to have the audacity to have the voice. We must utilize our union voice. We must teach our people we have to vote. We have to get out here and mobilize. We have to organize, because without our vote, our contracts will lack. They don't correlate that if the legislature is written against the unions, your contract is not worth the paper it's on. You have to shore up the laws to help increase the veracity of your contracts. So people need to know how it correlates, because everybody don't always recognize, if I don't do this, this is going to happen. So we have to put it in everyday terms so they'll recognize it for themselves. And so that's something that I strive to do. The redistricting they wanted to do in Georgia, we pushed it off for a little bit. The governor said he's going to wait a little bit, but he'll be gone. But we're still fighting, and we're going to continue to fight. And so we're not going to allow them to take away the rights that I was born here with, because somebody fought to make sure I had them when I came out the womb. Okay, so we're going to continue to fight, and every person we talk to, we need to make sure they're on the same page to fight as well. Thank you all. I'm not going to hold you.
I'm glad to hear from people throughout the South.
Yeah.
It's very important that the working people in this country hear about what's going on in the South. They have to be educated. They have to learn. And that's something that the corporate media is not doing. Nobody is really mobilizing to educate people. What's going on in the South? Why is that important to every working person in this country? This is why we have to build this movement. We have to keep educating and keep organizing. So our last speaker is Carol Lang. She is a member of the AFT, Professional Staff Council of the CUNY University of New York City, and she's also a member of the United Front Committee for Labor Party and has been fighting for a Labor Party for many decades. So welcome, Carol.
I think it's clear that the working class is definitely a force to be reckoned with. As Richard kept saying, if we stopped working, they would never make any profit. The wheels would stop turning. People would stop going into a classroom. The Teamsters would stop moving all the shipments that they deliver from UPS. We are the people that create the wealth in this society. But we're told that it's the capitalists that really create the wealth, and we're just a cog in their machine. But we know better, and we have been fighting for years and years for better conditions, for more money, to make a better world. It's certainly not the capitalists that are doing that. And so because we are a force to be reckoned with, they know it, even if we don't know it. And so we will find out, because we are a sleeping giant. And so they need the bureaucrats to come in and chill everything out and make sure that we don't talk about politics, that we don't even talk to each other. That scene this morning in the hall was really obscene. When people should be talking to each other about strategy, you have people like O'Brien that's keeping people from actually talking about politics. And this is not just O'Brien, this is not just the Teamsters, this is all of the bureaucrats. Their job is to prevent us from actually rising up, uniting, going out on strike, and fighting for decent wages for ourselves and for our fellow workers. So a bus driver in New York, I was on my way to a May Day rally, and he said to me, you know, bus drivers in New York, and there's a lot of potholes, for sure, lives 2.5 years after he retires and then dies. Now, whose fault is that? There are definitely potholes, but it's the union leadership that's not fighting for its membership. So that 2.5 years, you work for 25 years and you get to collect your pension for 2? It's obscene. The nurses went out on strike, which I went to their picket line every day in the middle of the winter in January, and it was freezing. But the nurses president, who is Haitian herself, has not only not said anything about the Haitians being deported, which means emptying out the hospitals, because those are the people that man the hospital. They're the nurses, they're the cleaners, they're the receptionists. A large percentage of SEIU and the nurses union are Haitian. And this Haitian woman, who is the head of the nurses union, said nothing about it, has led no demonstrations to protect her co-workers. In fact, during the strike, she sold out. There were a couple of hospitals that were on strikes, and they didn't win a lot, but they won. There was one hospital, New York Presbyterian, where the employer held out and refused to give them even the same wages as the other unions. And so she, the president, told people to go back to work. But the workers defied her and stayed out for 2 more weeks until they were able to get like a fairly decent contract. This is the fault of the union leadership. It's not the fault of the fact that people want to go in there and take care of sick people. That's the reason why people go into nursing and healthcare, because they want to take care of sick people. And the nurses union refused to defend them, even for the couple of dollars that they were going to get that was going to be equal to the money that the other hospitals were getting at the end of the day. The Teamsters, I went to a picket line at Kennedy where there's whatchamacallit, the Amazon warehouse, right? The Teamsters who would drive the trucks cross the fucking picket line.
Wow.
This was in the middle of the winter. Everything's in the middle of the winter in New York. So the Teamsters crossed the picket line, and I said, go to the trucks. Talk to people. Tell them that they need to be in solidarity. But they have a leadership, O'Brien, that doesn't talk about solidarity, especially since most of the workers in these plants are black. And so, once again, it's the unions that are making life safe for the capitalists. My union, the Professional Staff Congress, has got a great excuse. We're not allowed to strike. We're slaves. In New York City, New York State, it's illegal. There's a Taylor law. We're not allowed to go out on strike. So that's it. What can we do? We wish we could do this, but we can't. And no matter what the circumstances are, I always I'm a delegate in the union, I say, listen, we picketed, we wrote letters, we demonstrated, we did everything. How about if we even start the conversation about striking? And my president goes, yeah, we will. In the meantime, immigrants are being rounded up in trucks and being shipped out to concentration camps. Somebody else just died in Delaney Hall, which is in New Jersey, because he was denied medical care. That's like the fourth person within the last couple of months that have died. In fact, it was so bad at Delaney Hall that because it's run by Core Civic, which is a private concern, that they were feeding the workers food with maggots. And so the workers went out on strike, a labor strike, and said, we're not because they were getting paid $1 a day. So they said, we're going out on a hunger strike and we're not working. And so what do the unions do? They organize labor eyes on ice, bring 100 people between them. We have millions of workers in New York. They couldn't get any more people out there, and they would go, this is really bad. Really, this is wrong. It's really racist. It's really not fair. Talk about strike? No. And I mention once again, we have to start talking about striking. We are millions of people. We are powerful, but they want to make us feel as if we're impotent. So of course we don't go out on strike, and of course these people are dying in these inhumane concentration camps across the country. Labor, even Liz Shuler, who is the head of the AFL-CIO, sent out a message to everybody saying, this is bad, and we really should not have people in concentration camps. And that was the end. She fell silent. What do you want to do about it? These are your co-workers. These are people who've been in the country, a lot of them, for 30 years, 35 years. They are our siblings. And the AFL-CIO is not protecting them. This is just fundamentally shameful on the part of the AFL-CIO, on the part of the nurses union, on the part of my union. 4 people got fired. My union is largely temporary workers, right? We're adjuncts. And at one time, we were 100% full-time. Now we're 60% part-time, which means they can get rid of us just whenever they want to. 4 workers, 4 brave adjuncts stood up for the Palestinians in their classes, and they were all fired. 3 people got their job back, and now that's the end of it. They're not talking about even getting the 4th one back, even though that the whole union is behind defending this 4th worker who should have her job back. Nobody wants to talk about striking. All they want to do is send out petitions, have a demonstration in front of the governor's office, have a demonstration. You know, what's so ironic is that the headquarters of CUNY is down on 42nd Street and on the east side. I'm not sure if people know what Manhattan looks like, but the building that's right next to the CUNY building was allowed by the developers to add 6 feet, 6 stories to the top of the building. So the building is now crushed, or the beams were crushed, and it could have fallen on my employer, which I wouldn't have been too unhappy about. But on the other hand, the developers run the city, they do what they want, and my social democratic mayor said, oh, somebody could have been hurt. In the meantime, he's supporting the developers also and kicking people out of public housing where they've been living for 35, 40 years. So voting for the Democratic Party, I don't care if you call yourself a social democrat or whatever, is really, and this is what the unions want. They keep pushing you into the voting for the Democratic Party as opposed to organizing a Labor Party that will fight for the demands and speak for labor. They're Social Democrats, yeah, I mean, they won four positions in New York, none of whom they're all impotent. In fact, Mayor Mondami, there was a strike of women who are home care workers who in New York City work 24 hours a day and get paid for 13 hours. These women are in their 60s and 70s, all minority women, many Asian. They had a picket line in front of City Hall. He had to come out every day to see them and just pass by and said absolutely nothing to them. So they were on a hunger strike. These women who are 60 and 70 are on a hunger strike, and this guy is ignoring them. And he's the social democrat. He's the guy that my union said, oh, go vote for. He's terrific, right? And they're the ones that are gonna save the day. Anyway, so my union, who supports bourgeois laws, and which is perfect for them because then, as I said, we don't have to go out on strike. They don't have to do anything to divide the Democratic Party, which controls New York City, as I know it does in California. And they control the courts. They control everything. And yet, my union, rather than, saying, in fact, my president is on the Central Labor Council in New York City. He could certainly bring all these things up to the Central Labor Council. It doesn't have to be just my local, which has 30,000 people. There are millions of New York City workers, millions and millions. And rather than bringing those things up, and I mentioned it, he doesn't do anything. I don't even know what he does, frankly, because I'm still waiting for a report about what's going on. We're in deep trouble. Right. I mean, there's mass unemployment on the horizon. There's the AI bubble, which is even taking over the city university, and we're told that we have to live with this, and that's just the way it is. In fact, the head of Palantir was interviewed by a reporter, and he said, and the reporter said to Teal, he goes, all these people are going to be laid off. All these humans, he says. So Teal goes, humans? Humans? What are humans? And this is the fate that we are, if we're not killed by global warming, by fascists, Stephen Miller is talking about rounding up dissidents and putting them in concentration camps because we're terrorists and we're unhuman. This is the fate that's really waiting for the working class if we survive global warming. And if we survive, I don't believe that Trump is going to, walk away quietly. That in the midterms, which is what the AFL keeps telling us to wait for, because that's going to save the day, I don't even think there's going to be midterms because Trump is not a good loser, and he's not going to walk away. And he knows that he's not going to win, which is why he's doing all of this gerrymandering, which is why we started this conversation in the first place. And keeping blacks, splitting up the districts, making people, rather than be, stronger, being weaker. I have to just say one anecdote about my union. My contract is up next year. And as an adjunct, I'm paid by the hour. So however many hours I go into a classroom and I have like an office hour I get paid for. The City University has now decided that rather than being paid by the hour, we're going to be paid by the course, which basically means that they can tell us who knows how long, how much you should be putting in for a course, right? I was paid for the hour that I worked. I paid for the office hour, and now I have no idea this brave new world that's happening. And my union is saying that's the way it is. This is because they're so afraid of the working class that they really need to have these bureaucrats preventing people from mobilizing, from uniting. We need a united front of all workers. We just had demonstrations in 6 different cities because we've begun to do that. And so there was one in Newark, there was one in San Diego, there was one in a couple in Texas. And so this has to be what the working class needs to do, to build united fronts, to call for general strikes, and call for labor parties so we can really begin these discussions about where the working class needs to go and how to bring us forward. And then ultimately, in my opinion, we need socialism. We have to get rid of capitalism because it's going to be destruction of humanity. So, but at least beginning, we have to organize united fronts.
The last thing is that what Carol was talking about were United Front demonstrations against ICE, against the incarceration, against the repression. The Prairie Land 19 and Minneapolis trade unionists are also being targeted, who organize the defense of immigrants. The FBI is now going and charging them with violence and this kind of thing. So we're under the gun. So one of the things that we're working on September the 4th is a national day of action around single-payer health care for all. We want to go to hospitals and clinics around this country to say also get the AI out of our hospitals, because in California now they have these chatbots. They're getting rid of healthcare workers, mental health care workers, and you're replacing them with chatbots. So you cannot even talk to a mental health care worker. You've got to talk to a chatbot. So they're laying off healthcare workers and nurses to replace them with AI. So that's another one of the demands. And also ICE out of the hospitals. I mean, the ICE is going into the hospitals and grabbing people. They have them in shackles. So those 3 issues, tying them together, defending working people, defending healthcare. We have to unite working people, and I think that is the only solution in what we face. So I want to thank you all for coming, and thank to our guests, and we'll get this out. We're going to break the information blockade. We're going to build a movement, and we have to build a movement to defend all working class people. Thank you, brothers and sisters.